We are pretty much trainer, player, manager in one person. The real talent is the discipline. My self-discipline was quite high, and I learned to also transfer it to the real life. I haven't played soccer in like 8-9 years.
I have one question about you meeting the most important person, you could say, in Germany.
For example, with I Show Speed, the streamer, I was very nervous. If I'm on a stage with my ball, I don't care how many people watch me or what, because I'm in my comfort zone. But then if I would have to present something in front of maybe 30 or 40 people, then I'm way more nervous, even though it's just some people and way less important people.
What keeps you going?
I think that's probably one of my biggest fears.
Welcome to the world of sports. My name is Lewis Helm, and I'm a student and soccer player at Grandview University. Each week, I sit down with athletes and professionals from across the sports industry to talk about their careers and their paths into sports, but also their beliefs, values, and perspectives. My guest in the 5th episode is Samuel Weller. Samu is a football, or for my American friends, a soccer freestyler, and a student at the Technical University of Munich. He's a German champion in freestyle and performed in front of football legends and the most powerful person in Germany. In our conversation, we talk about his beginnings as a freestyler, what he enjoys most about the sport, and his relationship with soccer. We also discuss his goals in life, his drive to keep pursuing his academic career, and an alter ego he created for football freestyle. Now, here's my conversation with Samuel Weller.
Thank you, Samu, for joining me today. I have this one question I always start with, and that is, in your case, what does football freestyle mean to you?
Football freestyle for me is more than a sport. I think all the freestylers will tell you this, but freestyle is more than a sport because it's more a lifestyle and also a community. So as there are only about, 2, 3, maybe 5,000 freestylers worldwide in the top that will say they are really training freestyle for several years. We are such a small community that almost everyone knows everyone at some point of time. So we are a big family who, when we travel, for example, to another country, I always have a look if there are freestylers nearby, so I can ask them if they can host me, if they want to show me the city. So it's very, very nice to have that as a part of the sport as well. And then you can always train together, and somehow through the ball we can communicate, even if we don't speak each other languages. We always find a way to get along very good together.
You said it's a lifestyle for you. How does that show in your everyday life?
Well, in my everyday life right now as a student, it's a little more difficult, as I also do other sports besides freestyle. But for example, in my teenage years, it was besides the school or then my first bachelor, it was my life. I was training every day. I was on the weekends going to meetings, to competitions to train and compete. And then shows also were a big part at some point of time, where I financed my studies with it. And always also social media, scrolling through the other training clips, search for new inspiration, new tricks. And it's pretty much training and getting better and being better with the ball and the tricks.
Before you were able to finance your studies with it, I'm interested in how you even started with the sport, because from a soccer perspective, I always say like the stuff that we can do is kind of like where football freestyle begins for you guys. And I really am interested in how you even got into it.
Well, the sport itself only started, so freestyle football itself only started about 15-20 years ago. Before that, there was only one side of like jugglers, also juggling with a soccer ball or a football. And then it was the underground football street punter scene that could do tricks, but it was not only like freestyle keeping up and doing tricks with the ball. And then at some point there were these first freestylers, Sean Gagné, for example, a very popular French guy who was one of the first Red Bull athletes as freestylers. They then began to focus on really freestyle. And from then on, it got a new sport. And when I was 13, so yeah, already 12, 13 years ago, I saw a video of the first freestylers who did it as a sport and did this crazy tricks. And yeah, and then freestyle, our slogan is all you need is a ball. And then I grabbed my ball and went out to the street and trained it and learned the first tricks. And this is basically how it began. Yeah.
Do you think every kid that is playing soccer can, with a lot of practice, become really, really good at freestyle?
Yeah, I would say so. Actually, freestyle is not about talent, it's more about discipline. And if somebody asks me, yeah, what's more important in football, it's oftenly the answer is talent. But then I think in freestyle, it's so much about training and repeating those tricks. So my answer would be that the real talent is the discipline. And I would say that my self-discipline in that sport was quite high, and I learned so much of it to also transfer it to the real life. If it's other skills, with training you can pretty much achieve almost everything, I would say.
So freestyle became, you mentioned the lifestyle, it kind of became also a guidance for how you go about your whole life in that sense then?
Yeah, I would say the things I learned through freestyle then helped me a lot with other stuff in life, like studying, like I don't know, beginning another job as well, by just teaching me a lot of skills by myself. So, for example, I worked as a marketing manager for my volleyball club, and there I did a lot of graphic design, social media, and yeah, I basically learned everything by myself. So, for example, I don't know, Adobe Illustrator. I just looked up some YouTube tutorials as I would with the freestyle tricks, and then just yeah, tried stuff out by myself and learned it by myself. And then this is why I would say freestyle is also great to learn things that then help you in your other life besides freestyle as well.
So you're completely self-taught in freestyle?
I wouldn't say self-taught, because in my generation of freestyle we already had social media and we could share trainings, clips, tutorials, and whatsoever. But comparing to football or other types of sport, we are pretty much trainer, player, manager in one person. So there's no one telling you, okay, you have to train here, here, and there, or I don't know, you have to do these and these tricks. There are already the first people who start to becoming a kind of trainer or maybe more manager for a freestyler, but usually it's just by yourself and yeah, doing and managing the stuff by yourself.
Is that sometimes kind of overwhelming?
It can be, yeah, of course. You lack motivation sometimes, you lack inspiration, motivation, creativity. But I think social media, for example, helps a lot in that situation.
You said you started when you were 13, right? Been going for around 10 years, a bit more even now. Well, what keeps you going?
I think meeting new, interesting people helps a lot. This is why I do a lot of shows nowadays. I don't compete that much because I don't train every day, not anymore. But I think meeting those inspiring people is a great way of have fun and network with these people, but then also being part of events of other types of sports events where then I get also inspired and motivated by other sport players, other trainers, other people in general. And I think that's my main drive right now.
Do you have an example of that?
I think a very good example is the last year's shows. So I went to Disney for 4 weeks and worked there as a show act in Epcot in the Disney park, where in the German area we represented our German football culture, and not only doing tricks, but then also talking about the culture. And there you get in contact to so many tourists, but also other employees there who are also from around the world. And that was a really nice experience to live in the US and get the lifestyle. And in Orlando with Disney, there are so many artists and performer that yeah, live by their art, let's say. And that's very different to Germany, for example, because here if somebody asks you what you do for a living, and then you say like artist, or then yeah, that's not the definition, I think, what parents want their children to do. But then in the US, it's a very different thing, because there, I think the possibilities are way ahead in terms of entertainment, for example.
Yeah, that difference between Germany and the US is definitely pretty insane. And also, I think what you just said, the main difference is also how people react to it, treat it in a way, because yeah, it really sometimes feels like they're kind of cheering you on, and here it's like a bit more, okay. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I've also experienced that in freestyle, because Germans really always compared with the classic soccer or football. So they're either they ask you why, or do you play at Bayern München, or why don't you are a professional soccer player, or they ask you like, but could you do on a rainy pitch at Stoke, or what does that help you in a real soccer match? And then they don't really think outside the box, or they don't understand that it's about the art of doing tricks or a performance with the ball. Yeah.
these performances you do now, was that something you thought about when you were started in freestyle?
I I don't think so. Back then it was about the sport and about getting better, but not as much like standing in front of people and doing the tricks and showing them different ways and tricks you can do with the ball, and representing our sport as well, because I think still up to this date a lot of people have seen freestyle on social media and in the digital world, but not as much in person. And that's what a lot of people also tell me at my shows, that oh yeah, in person those tricks look even cooler or more spectacular than on our smartphone. And yeah, I think back then it was just getting better and doing tricks with then my friends as well and competing. And nowadays it's more about also expressing myself and representing the sport.
The difference between football freestyle and football soccer is obviously pretty big. Was it ever kind of a decision for you that you chose either the one or the other sport, or how is your relationship with soccer?
If I'm honest to you, I would say I haven't played soccer in like 8, 9 years, something like that. Because when I was 14, 15, I started soccer when I was 10 because my parents um, thought that soccer was too competitive back then. So I started very late, but then yeah, I got to my local club and played classic soccer there. And then when I discovered freestyle, in the beginning it was fine. I was doing those tricks, and then in the evening I sometimes also had soccer practice. But then at some point I was training every day, 2, 3, 4 hours, and then it started to getting complicated to being still able to go to training in the evening. And then at some point, like 14, 15 years, I had to choose one. And yeah, I already had friends within the freestyle family. There was a big tournament here in Munich where I pretty much get to know all the top freestylers back then. And then I decided I want to go with freestyle. And yeah, I think in the end it was the right decision. I was a good soccer player, but if I compared with my school friends back then, some of them were way better than me in soccer. But then if I look at them right now, most of them then got an injury or stopped playing at some point. And for me, freestyle is still a quite big part of my life. So I think it was the right decision.
Going back to your trip to Orlando, I wanted to ask you just in general, what has been the best experience football freestyle gave you?
I think just living there for 2, 3, 4 weeks. And I will also go this year back again for 5, 6 months. Not, no, weeks, sorry, not years. Weeks, of course. And just the lifestyle there was pretty amazing. I mean, of course, you are away from friends and family, which can be a different situation. But yeah, you are very focused on freestyle. It was my first job where actually I was traveling and living there for several weeks for this job, and freestyle was my only task, let's say. And yeah, I think the area is like you seen it in the movies. And yeah, it was very interesting. And I will be back this year for 5 or 6 weeks, and I'm very looking forward to it. Even even if it's gonna be very warm and hot out there, performing those tricks, and then going back in the trailer to cool down a lot, because all the Disney costumes are in there as well, and they have even more stuff on them, so they are even hotter. It has to be very cold, but yeah, I would just say that the lifestyle there is very unique, and very different to here in Munich.
And apart from that, if you're looking at your whole at all experiences you had in freestyle, what are some of the experiences you had that stick out?
Performing also at the Euros 2020 and 24 was quite an experience as well, because I got the chance to meet so many people of the soccer world from pretty much all of Europe. So ex-players, current trainers, current players, all that stuff, and seeing and feeling the atmosphere in the whole country with the Euro 2024 was very special. And then what also makes a lot of fun is just inspiring kids and doing workshops for them. In the past 2 years, I've been on cruise ships doing workshops there, and being on vacation as well at the same time, and that's also what I enjoy a lot in winter. Just teaching them the tricks. At that age, they are completely focused on soccer. So whatever you do, they are amazed and they want to learn from you, even though you just show them some tricks, And yeah, that's also a thing that stands out.
I'm always, whenever I see you post those workshops, I'm always thinking, are they actually learning something? Like, do you see a learning curve? Because to me, everything I see of you is like, okay, there's no chance I'm doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I usually start with a show, and then I kind of amaze them, and then to also show them, I really can do some stuff that your trainers probably can't do. But then I start at the basics. So at my workshops, usually I tell the organizers, no kid has to have any experience before the workshop. Of course, it helps if I have a group of players that are already at a soccer club, or, for example, I did some workshops for FC Bayern youth teams, and you really see the difference between kids that have no soccer experience, or kids that are at professional clubs already. But I started the basics and just show them in every discipline. We have different disciplines in freestyle, just the basics. And I definitely see a learning curve at this workshop, even though it's only 60 or 90 minutes. And I think I can, even in that short time period, I can show them my passion and get them to know to the sport. But then, of course, I've had 10,000 hours more practice, so they won't do any of those tricks that I do in my shows at the end of the workshop. But just to get them to know something. And we've also have had examples of pupils of other freestylers, especially in the pandemic here in Germany. There were two students that have done digital workshops with freestylers, and now I'm competing against them. So that passion in them kind of took off in that workshop, and they're still freestyling up to now, and doing quite well as well. So yeah, it can help. Of course, not in every workshop there are those future freestylers, but I think it's something good to teach and show them the sport.
You're working with a lot of brands now. You already mentioned that as a freestyler, you're kind of coach, player, and your manager in one person. When did you realize that with what you're doing, there is actually a way of earning money through the sport?
Quite late, I think, because it was never my intention to earn money with the sport. But then, of course, I started with shows at my school, shows for the 60th birthday of my grandpa. So first in my inner circle, but then at some point, of course, the local football club had a, I don't know, summer event or tournament where they wanted to have a show act of mine. And then, of course, at some point, I started to think, okay, I can earn some money as well, because I also, I don't know, want to go out, earn some money as well. And so yeah, I started with the local brands or clubs, and then from then, I registered my my brand, my own brand, where I can also write invoices. And yeah, I always also had some German freestylers who I could talk to and ask them questions about self-employment, of how to organize events and what prizes do I take for what kind of job. And kind of also in that subject learned a lot about entrepreneurship or building your own brand, building a website, talking to clients and brands. And yeah, I wouldn't say that I am really self-employed and I'm not earning my living right now, but I'm trying to finance my studies. But I think I will then at some point also get a real job, as a lot of Germans call it. And but yeah, freestyle, you can always do it besides a real job as well, and doing some shows on the weekends or some vacations or workshop trips.
A lot of freestyles also grow their social media pretty heavily, especially with TikTok. There are some guys who kind of blew up on that. Is that something you were or are trying to do?
I probably was at the beginning. My one of my best friends, he is a photographer, and he earned a lot of followers quite early when Instagram was getting big, and I kind of admired him and also tried to represent my sport on Instagram, especially. But then at some point, I realized that being like an influencer, how you say today, is about constant posting, and it really is a full-time job, uploading once or twice a day. And then also with freestyle, we are kind of limited with our content. So you usually have to also do all those football tricks to then get also the attention of the football players, because all the people watching are usually football players and more interested about football than freestyle. Of course, it's nice to see some tricks, but then at the end of the day, they are interested about football. So yeah, I then kind of lost a little bit the motivation to continue posting. And yeah, now I of course have my channels. I try to upload once or twice a month, but then in winter, oftenly also I don't have that many shows, and I don't upload that much of just training. So yeah, usually in summer it's a lot more filled than in winter.
Okay, this is a bit of a tougher question,
Yeah.
but are you sometimes a bit envious or jealous of those guys who kind of easily make a living out of it?
I mean, of course, sometimes it's difficult to see people that, in my eyes, have a lot worse of a show or don't have that much or that many tricks and still have enough following or reach to, I don't know, earn a lot of more money, play bigger shows and stuff. But then on the other side, I always tell myself that I can still study besides that and prepare for also my life after freestyle, because I think freestyle, as I do it right now, is limited by age at some point. And yeah, nobody knows then what those influencers or yeah, social media people do then afterwards, because yeah, I don't think they can make a living for their whole life in that particular job. So at some point, yes, but then I also have a look on the life after that, so that doesn't make me that jealous, I would say.
And I think it's also very a very good way of seeing things if you have your passion and you can just live out that passion without having any other like interests in that sense. And for you, in your case, being a freestyler, to just like, if you really like doing freestyle, that's just what you do, and then everything else is kind of secondary. If something happens, that's cool, but it isn't that important. You already mentioned that you're doing your master's right now in management. What made you follow the academic path besides the sport?
I think my parents play a big role in that because they always taught me that education is a very important part. And then also my goals in life, and I always want to have the chance to earning enough money to make a good living. And with only freestyle, I have also seen examples when it begins difficult and you have to, I don't know, for example, do jobs that are not as interesting or cool to have. You always have those very nice jobs that are paid very good, but then at the end you also don't want to do every birthday party for not much money. So yeah, that was also a big motivation to always be independent and have that backup, I would say. And yeah, I started with my bachelor in engineering, what was already very interesting, and it's also a topic that I wouldn't say only because I then chose a different path with sports science that we studied together. But yeah, it kind of was a good start as a bachelor, and I learned a lot of interesting stuff. But I didn't want to go that route that all of my um, all of that my friends that I studied with, they started to going in a job with 21 years old of age, and I didn't see myself in there, and this is why I chose to do another bachelor to just have time to yeah, also doing my sports more and enjoying my study years a little longer. And yeah, now with master in management, I wanna learn more about economics as well and prepare myself for the life beyond the studies and beyond the sport as well.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that you didn't want to start working at 21 because if I'm being completely honest, I feel like a part of motivating me to study is also the lifestyle and having that much time for the sport and not being tied to a position that requires so much of your time. Yeah. And I think it's really interesting because I do like to study, but at the same point, if I'm really honest, I also have to say it is also a very nice lifestyle if you're able to afford it.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Without the let's say basic monetary needs you have, especially here in Munich or in the US, everything is quite expensive. So of course you need to have some money to also have a good study life. But yeah, I also think that right now or the last 4 or 5 years um, were the best of my life, and I couldn't think of a situation where I would have those years if I was at a corporate job working 40 hours or so. Of course, you then have more money, but in the end, we have to work until we are like 70 years of age. And so, yeah, I think we have enough time to work, and you can't get those study years back at some point of age, even though you maybe have a little more money because you worked a little longer or so. But yeah, I couldn't think of a scenario where those years would have been better, pretty much.
What makes you say that those were the best years of your life?
Because I just learned a lot, not only in university, but also in life. I had enough time to travel, doing freestyle jobs, doing sports in general, getting to know to a lot of good people, interesting people, And yeah, just the study lifestyle here in Munich and then also around the world, kind of.
The last episode of the podcast I did, I had pretty much the same topic where I was speaking about the experiences you make whilst you're studying, but outside of studying, through traveling. Mostly for me, it's traveling. For you, probably also with traveling for the jobs you do, are where the real experiences and the real learnings of life come from. Would you say so too?
Yeah, I absolutely agree, because when you are with those people or then new people you very randomly get to know, those are then also the experiences and the stories you talk about with people that are with you on those trips, and have those very good memories. And that's definitely also in my case.
The studying, when you spoke about the studying, you said that it is important for you in terms of reaching the goals you have in life. What are those goals?
Difficult question. I don't have that much of clear goals, I think, for myself in the future, but I rather have the motivation that I want to bring myself in the best position to then have all the choices for a good job, for a good lifestyle. I don't know, starting a family maybe, or just having a good career. And yeah, I just try to learn as much now and still bringing myself in a place where then I can choose any path I want, and not driving me in a place where then I only have that one option. And so yeah, that's also why probably I studied now three a little bit different things, but in every of those fields I see myself working in those areas. So only if because I did a sports bachelor after an engineering bachelor, I still maybe see also myself working in the engineering branch. But yeah, I think that was my main goal. I don't have that vision of me at that one place.
Okay. When we studied together, I was always pretty fascinated by you doing, I would say, generally so much. Like you had your freestyle thing going on, you played volleyball, you managed the volleyball social media, you said, and you were obviously also studying. What drove you to do all of that?
Yeah, good question. I think on one hand it is very exhausting, having all those things to do, but on the other hand I was always motivated to being part of these groups or these jobs, and somehow learn stuff in those projects, but then also earn experience and have that great time, because in the end it was always about the people that the friends I had in volleyball, the task I had in managing a volleyball team, and yeah, then on the other hand, I don't know, competing, for example. So I wanted to be part of everything somehow. And yeah, now I also felt that I won't be able to do as much as I did back then. So I kind of try to focus it a little bit more. But yeah, I'm pretty much busy all the time, and I can't imagine myself not being busy or not working on something. So I think that's what I learned from my father. He's as well also always working and always on his laptop doing something, and he can't just chill and watch a movie or watch football. So in that I'm already better, but still I want to accomplish everything and work on everything every time. So I think that's the reason why I did so much or still do quite a lot.
Is it in some way though that you sometimes feel, okay, now it is a bit too much?
Yeah, sometimes it is, and sometimes, for example, some deadlines are getting difficult, and you have to, I don't know, work a whole half a night for it, and only go to bed at 3 a.m. because something has to be finished the next day, or some dates also collide. So, for example, last year the German freestyle football championship fell on a weekend where we had a very important volleyball match as well. And yeah, I couldn't be part of the volleyball match. And of course that happens, but usually I kind of find a solution for it.
To me, if you're speaking about grinding through nights to get stuff accomplished, I think it is really important to have that, and it is very valuable if you're able to just put your mind towards something. But then, in my experience, if I don't have time to relax a bit, to kind of take a step back, it gets to a point where it's such a never-ending hustle kind of, that it has to like blow up at some point. Do you ever feel that way? Because to me it seems like you're actually going hard all the time.
I think with studying you have enough time usually during the semester to also chill a little bit, let's say. And with my sport, usually I'm, for example, scheduling my trainings by myself, so I always can go a little bit slower or take my time. But I probably have those situations maybe 2 or 3 times a year, let's say, because otherwise I don't know how it is without it. So it's quite normal, I would say, for me, and I'm really good in managing I don't know, those deadlines and those stuff I have to do. And yeah, I kind of just get to know into it, and it's the normal. But of course, sometimes it happens, and but I don't learn from it. So I just yeah, somehow I can't go otherwise, and I don't know if then at some point of time I will change a little bit. I think I already changed a little bit. I think 2 or 3 years ago it was even worse, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm just really interested in that particular point, because I'm feeling like, so was there ever a point where you were thinking like all of it just gets too much?
Yeah, maybe at the beginning of 2025, I was also working still for the volleyball club and playing volleyball, doing freestyle, and study as well. And in that phase of exams, for example, where I, on the one side, had to work a lot because it was in the time of the season where a lot of matches were, and I kind of just jumped from working for that volleyball club, then playing for that one, and then study a little bit in between. And yeah, then I also decided to quit the job at the volleyball club, and after that it was a lot better because with that I had a lot of more time. Now I'm beginning another studying job. I am very curious how it's going to work out, but I think when I stopped that job, it gotten a lot better.
Okay, yeah, I think it's important to, especially when you're young and you really can go hard, and if you want to do that, definitely go for it. But so maybe sometimes you got to check in on yourself, you know?
Definitely, yeah. But then I for sure have some people that tell me always, yeah, then take your time, and I always say, yeah, it's okay, it's okay. But yeah, I think I have enough friends and family that they always tell me that, and sometimes I also listen to them.
You just mentioned the German Freestyle Championships last year, which you decided to go to, and you earned second place. Obviously, you had already had great success in the German scene in freestyle, but what really interests me is with, I guess you can say, your one rival who's pretty often winning the tournament. How do you deal with the situation? I know you already won it once, but in the recent years of not standing on the top of the podium, but often coming second.
Yeah, it's our German Klassiker. You can compare it to the match Bayern versus Dortmund. It has been for the last 5-6 years always Chris and me who met in the finals usually, and I'm really good friends with Chris. We've trained already 8 or 9 years together. So we met up, even though he comes from a city 2 or 3 hours away from here. We met and trained together and shared a lot of things and trainings together. And yeah, the German scene is very, very small compared to how many football players we have. So yeah, everyone knows everyone, and everyone knows also the tricks of everyone. You always try to train some new ones, some new variations, but you kind of know all the competitors. There are some young stars, young guys coming up, but besides that, it has been always us two, and yeah, of course, it's a little bit disappointing always, or almost always, losing against Chris, but it's still a good challenge that every time after the championships it motivates me to train a little bit more and a little bit harder again. And I'm still confident that I will at some point also beat him, hopefully in a final, and can win the German championship. But yeah, we are good friends. We did also jobs together, so it's no bad blood. But of course, we are very competitive, and everyone wants to win. And yeah, we'll see. I think the next 1 or 2 years, I will get the chance, hopefully again. And yeah, he doesn't do as much. He does freestyle for a living, so he has a lot more time to train, of course. But I'm still confident that I somehow can win once against him. Yeah.
Is it ever not only just disappointing but also discouraging though?
No, I wouldn't say that. Usually, I knew that he was better prepared, so I never. Of course, I wanted to win, but I never was really confident and aiming for the title. So I was never disappointed of myself. Really, I just at some finals I had a good chance to beat him, and then I did some small mistakes, and of course that's a little bit disappointed. But other than that, I was almost every time satisfied with my results. And yeah, oftenly they told me I have to train throughout the year a little bit more and play less volleyball, for example. But yeah, hopefully I at some point find enough motivation to really train like 2 or 3 months hard for a championship, and then I should have good chances to also win it one time.
Would you say you're lacking that motivation right now?
Yeah, at some point throughout the years, there are times where I don't train that much freestyle, just because there are so many other stuff I do. But yeah, for German champs, usually I find motivation to train quite a lot and be good prepared for the competitions.
And how does your training look like?
It depends. Sometimes, for example, if you train together with other freestylers, you just go for it. And some other times you kind of want to have a little bit of structure in your training. So you start with one discipline and then go to another discipline and maybe also have ideas or inspiration of what kind of tricks you want to train. But yeah, usually with many freestyles also it really is freestyle. So it's just going into the training. You can do some kind of trick research, they call it. So you just do a little bit of everything, and then if you have one specific discipline or trick you feel confident or good in it, you just do that and try to find new variations of that trick, or you just go for it and find a trick you want to learn. So yeah, sometimes structure, oftentimes without structure.
After the practice, when you have those big shows, either in front of quite famous people or just big crowds in general, how are you dealing with nerves in those situations?
I think now quite good, because I've performed in front of very important guys, very many big crowds, as you said. But in the beginning, of course, it was quite nerve-wracking. For example, I know when I was 16, I think I performed in front of my school back then, and then you know everyone, and if you mess up there, it's gonna be some kind of embarrassing. But I think for me, I always found a way to prepare good enough and be confident enough in myself, that I imagined myself after the show where it went quite good, and I could show them my passion and my tricks, so that they were amazed, and that always focused me on the tricks and on the show, and not dropping the ball or doing mistakes.
Because the margin of error in freestyle is just so small, right?
Yeah, it is. It is really small. I think, especially with shows, you get better in also hiding a little bit of shakiness or some small mistakes. But in the end, when the ball drops to the ground or just rolls away, you can't uh, disguise that. So yeah, the margin is quite small.
Is that something that happens at like the big tournaments that people mess up? Because obviously on social media you don't really see that.
Yeah, it happens. In competitions a lot more than in shows, because of course you need to show big tricks. If I would do my standard show set there, I would maybe, I don't know, get to the top 16 in Germany or so. But when you enter then the higher rounds of competitions, you really have to show a lot more difficulty. And so yeah, mistakes happen there, but you kind of have to find a way between risk and difficulty, and just consistency of tricks.
So the number one hack for you to be confident in your performance is preparation.
Yeah, definitely preparation, and then confidence in yourself, I think.
Coming slowly to the end of it, I have one question. I have one question about you meeting the former chancellor of Germany, which is the most important person you could say in Germany. I want to know how that happened and also how it went down.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it was April 2024. It was the year of the Euros in Germany, where I was gonna perform. I knew that I will perform at several matches, and then the office of this chancellor in Germany had this campaign with the trophy of the Euros at their office and for their employees to take pictures and just to promote the tournament in Germany. And so yeah, they wanted to also invite some creators to do some content. And yeah, at some point then we traveled to Berlin to have a how you say, to be guided through his office of the chancellor. And then at some point he arrived in a helicopter, and he met us at the top of the building with a very nice view on top of the Bundestag in Berlin. So yeah, and we had like 5 minutes to do some content with him, and I of course had to show him some tricks. And we were 4 or 5 freestylers. Oh no, 4 or 5 influencers or creators, and me and another guy, we were the freestylers. The other one did also do some soccer content, but not freestyle wise. And yeah, I showed him some tricks, and he was quite amazed by it, of course. And yeah, joked about why I don't play at the national team as everyone who watches freestyle for the first time. And in the end, yeah, it was a very nice video, and of course everyone was quite amazed how it happened, but it was kind of random and very quickly, but in the end yeah, it worked out quite well and got a good publicity.
What was your impression of him?
He's not like very good with the sports or the soccer ball. You also see it in the video that he definitely don't catches and throws a soccer ball that oftenly, and he admitted that he couldn't do like a duo show with me juggling the ball, but of course that's not his job. But other than that, he was very nice to us. He took his time, answered all of our questions, and he was of course great on camera and stuff. So he's a professional, and that's definitely what we saw.
With all your jobs at the Euros, I think you also did a video with Speed. So kind of like popular people in every realms of whatever. Do you ever get starstruck?
I think with most of them not, because in the end they are just regular people, and even though you've seen them on the media, on your smartphone, in the end they're as on the smartphone in person. And yeah, usually they are also very chill and very relaxed. So I wouldn't say starstruck, but for example with I Show Speed, the streamer, I was very nervous, because actually we weren't booked for that area where he sat, because he sat down at the skyboxes, but we were only booked for the regular VIP area where all the footballers and officials of the UEFA are. But then I saw him entering the stadium through the VIP area, and then I said, okay, he's for sure with his team down at the skyboxes, and we had access for the whole stadium. So I just went down to find his skybox, and at some point I saw him, because some like 10-year-olds were also in front of his store and waiting for him to give some autographs and photos. And then I just entered the room with my soccer ball and told him, yeah, I'm a freestyler of UEFA. Does he want to see some tricks? And then I just performed some tricks. And of course, with his people. He was one of them, of course, filmed it immediately, and yeah, I could show him some really nice tricks, and of course he reacted crazily about it. And then I just asked him and his friends if I could have that video for myself and for my channels, and he was chill about it, and we had a good time. So I think oftenly you just have to go for it, and yeah, maybe also enter areas where you're maybe not allowed in theory, but then with my trick I can always find some kind of excuse why I have to go to some people. But I think that's one of those examples where you just have to go for it, and at the end I didn't bother anyone and we all had a good time. And yeah.
Do you get asked a lot by friends, family, whatever, those questions that I ask you now about how is the chancellor, how is this guy, how is that guy?
Yeah, of course. I think that's also what I would ask those people, but usually my answer is something like, yeah, there are, like you would think. I've not had that many occasions where somebody acted in a very different way that I wouldn't have expected it. So usually the people are people as everyone. Some of them, for example, the chancellor was also at two um, Euro matches in Germany, and then yeah, they entered the stadium through the kitchen pretty much with, I don't know, 15 bodyguards or so, and in those moments you can't talk to them, but if you're then talking normally to them, they're pretty much the nice persons and very regular persons, and yeah, they also talk to you and they also talk about soccer or my tricks as probably pretty much everyone else, and then you maybe take a picture or so. But yeah, so pretty normal, I would say.
Did that come with experience for you, or were you never a person that was like starstruck by someone thinking they are the greatest deal because of their position?
Probably also before I wasn't very starstruck or nervous, but then with experience it even got easier, I would say.
Because I realized that for myself, like when I grew up, obviously a big soccer fan, the big soccer players back then were obviously kind of like heroes, and you would get all this stuff you now often see with like kids going for streamers or obviously still soccer players.
Yeah.
And I definitely had to mature a bit to realize that at the end of the day they are people.
Yeah, that's true. What I also experienced when I'm with my ball, for example, it's way easier for me in those situations than if I don't know, had to present something or just talk to them or in front of people. So for example, if I'm on a stage with my ball, I don't care how many people watch me or what, because I'm in my comfort zone with my ball doing my tricks. But then if I would have to present something in front of maybe 30 or 40 people, where with the ball I would warm up myself for a minute or so and then just do my basic stuff, my basic tricks, and wouldn't think about anything. But if I have to present something, for example, and speak freely to them, I'm not as much in my comfort zone anymore, and then I'm way more nervous, even though it's just some people and way less important people. So that's what you always have to keep in mind with, I think, experience and being in a comfort zone. It's something way different than being outside the box.
That's super interesting. That I'm guessing then you kind of built not a different personality, but you just built for yourself a way of going about business and kind of handling yourself, that in those situations you're at the end of the day a kind of a different person, right?
Yeah. My I'm in a very different role and character, and with the one juggling a ball, I'm very, very more confident than the one presenting something or talking to somebody. Yeah.
Would you sometimes wish that that person that is juggling the ball could take over that mentality when you're presenting?
Yeah, it would be way easier in many situations, but on the other side, I think then the solution is to just keep training that presentations as well, and then at some point you get a natural in those scenarios as well, and yeah, that's one of the biggest takeaways of freestyle is just with preparation and training, you can get confident and in your comfort zone in probably every scenario, every situation, and then you will kind of master that situation.
Yeah, preparation and experience.
Yeah.
And it probably transcends into the whole life.
Yeah, yeah.
I have one question I always ask at the end of every episode. What would you tell your younger self?
Um, I think I think that's what usually that's very cliche, and everyone would tell you just keep going, chasing your dreams, even though maybe I don't have that very particular dreams, but just keep going hard, going quick, doing a lot of stuff and collecting all that experience you can in your younger years, because the more you do and experience, I think the more benefits you will have with using that experience for different scenarios in your later life then. Yeah, I think other than that, luckily I already had that mindset from quite younger times, and then I think also a big thing that I maybe only experience right now is surround you with good people, because if you are with those good people, so I don't know, motivated people going outside the comfort zone, I think you always look up to them and compare yourself to them, and with that you can yeah, keep you in the right mindset as well.
How did you see that lately?
In just meeting new people, inspiring people, and asking them questions as you're doing right now, and learning from them. And yeah, then at the end of the day, your friends and with your family together are the people that get you through every point in life.
So I feel like you would tell your younger self to just do what you're doing.
Go for it and surround yourself with good people. Yeah.
If I had to answer that question, what I would think you would say, or what I would think you would say, is that like just do everything you can to the best of your abilities to then put you in a spot where going forward you're just in the best position you can be, and at the end of the day basically have no regrets going.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to be in a position afterwards to look back and think, yeah, I should have done this and or should have done more of that. I think that's probably one of my biggest fears, than looking back and regretting something. And if you do everything and try to be part of everything, you, of course, maybe here and there something you're not as focused to as others would be that do less, but you can't regret that much at the end.
Well, I can't look on the inside, but from the outside, I think you're doing a pretty good job at that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time today
Of course.
on a quick notice. And yep, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, and keep up the good work with the podcast as well.
So,
Thank you for listening to this episode of The World of Sports. I hope this conversation sparked your interest in sports and the people behind it. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it with a friend and leave me some feedback in the comments. Once again, thanks for joining me in The World of Sports.